Okay, so the other um, cases here of machlokes bavli yerushalmi. So we know the yerushalmi. Uh, I am going to back up a little bit. We mentioned Rabbi Tarfon, the fact that the supposed murderers came to him to help shield him, and he refused to take them in. But some would say that that case is different because if they're murderers, then you're usher to give them to shield them. So maybe that's not a great example of not being mechuyev to put yourself in a suffix sakana to help somebody who's a vadai sakana. But anyway, that is one possible bavli bavli episode where it's a machlokes bavli yerushalmi. So again, where else do we see this machlokes bavli yerushalmi possible source for the bavli? It could be from the lo tamad al damreyecha. In the Gemara Sanhedrin Ayin Gimel, it says Aveda skufo minayin tamalomer bahashevoso lo ime hasamava minahanamiza bin avshe. If we learn just from hashevoso lo, we would say that you have to, use your own things, your own skills to save somebody. But I wouldn't have to hire somebody else and pay money. In other words, as Rashi says, you have to look in each and every way not to lose dam reyecha. But the point that is made here is that it doesn't say that you have to put yourself in sakana from lo tamod. It doesn't say that you have to risk your life, but you have to, you have to use your money. So the point is that maybe that's the source of the bavli, as opposed to yerushalmi, where Reish Lakish went in with his own life. The other possibility is the Gemara Ben Betura Rabbi Akiva, where it says Shnayim sheyu mahalchim aderech v'yarech mehem kiton shomayim im shos in shneim meisbim shos echad mehem migil yishuv darish Ben Betura mitav shishti shneim v'yamosav al yira echad ben misasa shel chavera. So the famous Gemara where Ben Betura says, if you have only one cup of water, and should you share it, or should you one person take it and live? If you share it, both of them will die. Rabbi Akiva says the person who has the water should take the water and live. That's actually how we paskin. But according to Ben Betura, what is the rationale? The Nitziv asked the question. The Chara das Ben Betura tamuha one person has the water. Why should he share with his friend? He's gonna end up dying. So he says, because maybe they'll live 1 or 2 days, and by that time, water will come. The idea that he says here is that you must put yourself in a suffix sakana. You put yourself into a suffix sakana in order to possibly save somebody else's life. He is a vadai sakana, and you put yourself into a suffix sakana. According to Ben Betura, we don't paskin like that. We paskin like Rabbi Akiva. So this is the machlokes of the bavli and yerushalmi. This is the bavli part showing that there is no chiyuv of putting yourself into a suffix sakana in order to save somebody who's in a vadai sakana. Similarly, the Gemara in Nedarim 80b, which talks about 1 well and 2 adjacent cities, if you take their water, it's on the way to that city, they're going to potentially die. So there's a machlokes, Rabbi Yossi and Rabbanan, basically, Mayan, Shobanayir, Chayim, Mechayecherim, Chayim, Kodmin, Mechayecherim, similar to this Rabbi Akiva, that your life takes precedence over their life. And then the question is, what about Chayecherim Kvisasan? So, what about if you're just doing your laundry and are you allowed to do your laundry and risk their lives? And there's a machlokes there. It says chayechirim kodmin lekvisasin, but the Shevet Yehuda, which is written by Rav Isra Yehuda Intermin, brings down ulam because he talks about the suffix sakana and the risking life. He says ulam din zeh shayach lechara lepflukta Rav Yossi Rabbanan Gabi Ma'ayan Shebnei Ayir Misafkim Mimenu the Tana Kava Savar Chayechirim Kodmin lekvisasin Rav Yossi Savar kvisasim kodem best lechayechirim, that your kvisa is actually kodemis lechayechirim. The kvisa, doing laundry, is, if you don't do it, it's a suffix sakana. So are you allowed to not do laundry in order so that they live? That's the same concept of putting yourself into a suffix sakana. Are you allowed to put yourself into a suffix sakana in order to help people down the road? I'm just making the point that this could also be an element of this idea, risking life for another person. Is this, that's somewhat related. I'm not really putting that necessarily into the machlokes bavli yerushalmi, because it's a machlokes of Rabbi Yossi Rabbanan there, but it seems to be similar to the machlokes of Ben Petur Rabbi Akiva. At least it's brought down in the Shevet Yehuda to possibly be related. If you look down here, he said nearly the first day in sakana ba'dais la'acherim elasabo. So he actually goes on and he says it's not really a good analogy. Anyway, it's interesting to mention. So the other possibility is a Gemara in Trumos in Talmud Yerushalmi, where it talks about if a mob comes and says, give us one person and you could save the rest of the klal. So there's a machlokes there. If you point out Yachdu ahem lekigon sheva ben michri master ba'ad yeheragu amar Rabbi Shimon Leshel b'hushe yechayv misak sheva ben michri Rabbi Yochanan apal pisheinu chayv misak sheva ben michri. So the machlokes is that you're allowed to be moser one person. You could risk somebody's life in order to save the rest. That's only if they pointed him out. We're going to see this later on in a tshuva by Rav Asher Weiss. But according to Reish Lakish, it's only if that person is chayav misa can you send them out. And Rabbi Yochanan says once that they're pointed out, it doesn't matter if he's chayav at all. Again, a case of risking sacrificing for others. Probably one of the more famous episodes is Lilianos Papos in 18b, who Rashi says, Beludikia hilud, hainu da'amrinan haruge le'vein kol bria yechola la'amod b'michitzasan b'gan Eden. These people, this Lilianos and Papos, are going to be in Gan Eden. What do? Yeshom shenergu al bito shel melech shenintzas haruga. The daughter of the king was found dead, and all of the Jews were going to be killed. But these two heroes, the Lilianos and Papos, came and said that they were the killers, so they were killed in lieu. They put themselves at risk in order to save the rest of the population. So basically, we went over all these different cases in the Talmud, going to witch doctor, earning a living, the machlokes bavli yerushalmi. We brought down the Hagos Maimonos that brought down the Yerushalmi and Trumos, but then the Bavli cases, Rabbi Tarfon and Lo Talmud and Shosin and the Ben Petur, Rabbi Akiva, the city of well, Trumos, Lailanos, and Papos. So now we're going to get to the halachic approach.